Om Gajananam Bhodaganati Sevitam Kapita Jambo Balasara Pakshitam Umasutam Soka Vinasha Karanam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sadashiva Samarambam Sankaracharya Madhyamam Asmat Acharya Paryantam Bande Guru Paramparam Sudeva Sutam Devam Kamsajanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagatgurum. Okay, welcome to SanGita program session 18 today. Today is May 20th, Saturday. We'll, as usual, go through a very quick review of session 17, covered verses 11 to 20. That was chapter 3, in which Lord Krishna explained why yajnas are important, sacrifices, why in daily life we do sacrifices of many kinds. Pancha yajna I explained to you. And he also told about the wheel of life, how one leads to another, rain, food, yajna, and then rain, keeping the cycle on. The ultimate contentment, how does it come? And he explained why karma yoga is a prerequisite for self-knowledge. So that having been said, let's go to the session today, 18, a very quick overview. We'll review the verse 320 again very quickly. And then from 21 onward, Lord Krishna proceeds to explain the differences between the ignorant and the wise. And he emphasizes karma again, action for all, not only for ordinary people, but also for the jnanis. And he explains very clearly what the wise or the jnanis should and should not do. So it's a do and don't, very clearly given in these verses that you will come up now. Okay, having said that, let's go to the verse 320, which we covered last time, but I wanted to maintain the link. So we will just very quickly recite this. Karmanaivahi samsiddhim astita janakadayaha loka sangraham evapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. Lord Krishna gives examples. You know, that's something great about Gita, that he doesn't just say something, but he does give you a lot of examples. So in this particular verse, he gives examples of great kings like Janaka. You know, they were Kshatriyas, Janakadaya, Janaka and others like Ashwapati. They all strove to attain jnanam through the path of karma. They were kings and therefore they're rulers, and they administered the kingdom, and they remained in karma yoga throughout, because they said that we will be so much involved in this that itself will be eventually leading us to the liberation. So this is one example that he gives, and it is also keeping in mind loka sangraham. Loka sangraham is the welfare of the world, which is actually the core of Sanatana Dharma. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, as it's called. It is not for individual pleasure or individual benefit, but it is intended for the world. That's why you have so many yagams going on here. And you see right now in India what's happening. The Prime Minister himself, he has no personal axe to grind. He's trying to do his level best for the welfare of the people, although he has to meet with political forces as any leader should. So this verse is giving you the examples, and which is very good. As we go along, I'm going to give you more examples of how the verses have implied meanings. So let's go to verse 321. Yad yat acharati sretaha tad tad devetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute Lokastat anuvartate. Now, yet means whatever. Acharati. Charati is following, he does. Sreshtaha, a great man or a leader. Tat eva. That alone, he stresses, that alone. Itarajanaha, other people. Saha, he. Yet whatever. Pramanam, example, yardstick, standard. Kurute, does. Lokaha, meaning the world. Tat anuvartate, follows that. The guest is, whatever a great man or a leader does, the other men follow. Whatever he sets up as a standard, the world follows that. This is a saying in Sanskrit, Yatha Raja Tata Praja. Like a leader, he is a subject. A father cannot ask his son to get up early in the morning if he himself sleep late. As a father, is a role model. Children tend to follow their parents. At home, I'm talking about a family where the leadership is set by the father and the children follow it. If father says, don't lie, be truthful, the children follow it. But he has to also demonstrate. There is a Tamil saying, I will translate it for you. Enga appa kudurukulla illa appdinu solva. My father is not in the silo. There was a villager, in villages they have big silos to store grains. And he always taught his son he should tell the truth. And this smart boy always followed it. So one day somebody came and the father didn't want to see him, maybe a lender or someone. So he hid behind the silo and told the son, tell him that your father is not here. So this fellow goes out and tells the lender, my father is not in the silo. So he tells the truth. So that's what happens. Yatha Raja Tata Praja. If the leader is corrupt, citizens and followers are also corrupt. So clearly, good leadership starts from the top down bottom. Let me give you two examples here. Examples of corporate leaders in the US. I am a fan of Costco. I go to Costco and I'm very impressed with the way they do things. Jim Senegal, who was a CEO of Costco, he set an example. His office was open office, not even walls. And he took a meager salary of $350,000, which is way below what normal CEOs get in terms of millions of dollars. And he had no secretary. Let me mute you all. And he was so open that anybody could meet him. Anybody could call him. It doesn't have to go through a secretary. So that being said, the company profits rose up. The employee turnover is the lowest in the retail industry. Example one. Two, I remember having heard Tom Peters say this long ago about FedEx. You all know FedEx as a carrier company. It was built by a leader, Fred Smith, a company with a philosophy of people, service, and profit. They are operating all over Chicago, Toronto, New Delhi, Taipei, Timbuktu, everywhere. The language is the same. You can say any company where the language is common for all the people is a good company. They all speak the same language. The FedEx culture is a bedrock of its corporate philosophy. Tom Peters says that he called up FedEx on a Sunday. Normally, they pick up the phone, the first ring. And on this day, the ring went twice. And Tom Peters thought probably he got a wrong number. He disconnected and called again. This time it was picked up, the first ring, and the gentleman who was on the other side of the phone, the FedEx rep, said, "Good morning, sir. I'm very sorry that you had to wait for some time. Today being Sunday, we are short-staffed and I'm the only man, so I had to run to get the phone." Those are days when you had the landline phones. That's a culture. That's a culture of service. So 2 examples of how corporate leadership translates itself into employee culture, work culture. So it's very important the leaders take the responsibility and they must be conversant with the ethical, moral, and spiritual codes. Whatever the great man, the leader does, the other men follow. So beautifully said in Bhagavad Gita, thousands of years back, what we are calling today as corporate philosophy and corporate management, thousands of dollars are being spent in training. This is the crux. When you study Gita, you learn many things, and which is applicable to everyone. At home, in communities, in corporations, in states, in countries. That's the beauty of Gita. So we'll go to the next verse. Verse 22. Na me partasi kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nana avaptavyam vartayeva cha karmani. Let me explain to you the meanings of the words. Now, of course, everybody knows is nothing or no. In fact, no comes from na. You see the similarity between English and Sanskrit? Na and no. May. Again, see the similarity. May and me. Me. Partha. O Arjuna. O Arjuna. Asti is kartavyam. To be done. Trishu lokeshu. Trishu lokeshu. In the 3 worlds. Kinchan. Anything. Na. Not. Anavaptam. Avaptam. Avaptam is to attain. An is the opposite. Anavaptam is unattained. Varte, I am engaged. Evacha, certainly also. Karmani, in action. There is nothing in the 3 words, O Arjuna, that should be done by me, nor is there anything unattained that needs to be done. Yet, I engage myself in action. See, Lord Krishna here is again citing his own example. After all, is Lord Vishnu himself, avataram of Lord Vishnu. He has nothing to do really. He need not be engaged in the battlefield of Kurukshetra to be a driver to Arjuna. He can be sitting in Vaikuntham with Mahalakshmi and be comfortable. But he chose to be a driver for Arjuna to help him fight against adharma. He killed his own uncle Kamsa. For what? Adharma, again. So even the gods have a duty to perform. So he's actually persuading Arjuna that you must do your duty. Even I do the duty. There is no exception. Whether you are a jnani or an ajnani, whether you are a wise man or you are an ignorant man, action is important. Engage yourself in action. CEO does not mean sitting in a luxurious office surrounded by secretaries and air-conditioned comforts. It's got to also work to produce results. Every deity plays a role. The 5 elements also have a duty to perform. So the point here is that there is no exception, that everyone has to be active. Going further, this is verse 23 now. Yedihi aham navarteyam jatu karmani atindritaha mama vartama anuvartante manushyaha partha sarvasaha. Yedihi aham. Yedihi aham. Yedi is if. He, surely, aham is I. I. You see that? Aham. I. Na varteyam. Do not engage in action. Jatu karmani. Ever in action. Atandritaha. Atandritaha. Unvaried. Mama, my vartama path. Anuvartante. Varta, path. Anuvartante, follow. Manushyaha. You see, man and manushya. Similarity in English and Sanskrit. Man, manushya. Manushyaha, plural, men. Partha, referring to O Arjuna. Sarvasaha, in every way. If I do not engage myself in action, unvaried, men would in every way follow my path, O Arjuna. So here Krishna is urging Arjuna to always perform action and not to give in to the human tendency to become lethargic, to become lazy, procrastinate, even if we can afford to be so. So he's telling Arjuna, do your work wholeheartedly with devotion, which is applicable to everybody. Everyone has to work with interest, not grudgingly. I remember Peter Drucker, the management guru, said once, I read one of his books, he said, there is an enormous number of managers who have retired on the job. I had a colleague of mine long ago, when I used to work in India, who had a clean table, absolutely clean and no work at all. He was already retired. He was an engineer, but he didn't like the job, so he sat there. And then eventually, he left the job and became a doctor. So it's a very interesting person. So you find in Delhi, it's very common. You ask anybody, kaisa chalta hai? Oh, chalta hai saab, chalta hai. Chalta hai is moving. It's moving. Many of them, they work for the sake of salary, not because they are interested. There is no heart in it. Some do it grudgingly, you have to do because my boss is saying that I have to do this, murmuring. I don't really like this, but my boss says it should be done, so I have to do this. I hear it often from the people working in the IT sector, that particularly those who are in the software and computer-related job, they do the work because they are earning money. Money is the motive, not enjoyment. How can a person avoid this disgruntled way of working? I think this is where the Varnashram comes into being. Really, I'm a supporter of that, even though it may not really appeal to many people. But Varnashrama does not mean that one Varna is superior to another. It says work is based upon your natural abilities, and it has been developed so. How do you select a profession? I think basically two ways. One is based on your own janma, the way you're born, your family, for example, where your ancestors excelled, maybe in whatever way, like a lawyer, doctor, soldier, a sculptor, a carpenter, a weaver, whatever, because there is an advantage. Right from childhood, you observe your father, your grandfather doing the job, and you pick up the threads very easily. And with modern technology today, with education, you can improve upon it. A lot of people, weavers, who have gone into automated system of working. Nothing wrong with that. Basically, they are the core of the profession. The basic line of work remains the same as your ancestors are now. Vyaparis, businessmen. Nobody can beat Chettiars or the Nadas. They have them. I used to go to a small store, in India, which was not automated. And by the side was one of those modern supermarkets where you pick up whatever you want and then eventually come into the checkout counter and check in. I've always observed that the small dukan, or the shop, which was family managed, had 2 or 3 people, boys, and the boss was the father. They were able to build it quickly, just like that. You buy 15 items. The guy tuck, 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 immediately he writes it down and then totals it manually. No computer, no calculator. Within 5 minutes, you get out. The same thing if I were to buy the supermarket, it's going to probably take me half an hour. And yet there will be mistake because when I buy a vegetable, the checkout counter, the clerk says it has to be weighed. And for weighing, you have to go to another counter. And then there is a label put on that. Then they come out. So you have differences. If you follow one profession of your ancestors where the skills are highly developed and you just observe and learn skills faster. The other, of course, is based on your natural inclination. In a family, all children are not alike. Even though you are coming from a family of maybe doctors or engineers or whatever, all people don't follow the same profession. Some people follow the natural gunas or qualities that are inherent in you and a desire. In a family, you get some offsprings who are exceptions. So some people like to be electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, artists, singers, dancers, artisans, teachers, whatever. Not the job that pays you high, but a job that you love. The one that suits your natural inclination. The one where you feel happy about doing things. And if you take such a profession, you will not get tired. I see some people working day and night because they are so immersed in the work. They are not getting varied. They are not tired. You see some of the movies also, you observe. Sherlock Holmes, for example, if you see how involved he gets into the detective work. He skips his meals. So involved. That's the natural inclination. Then you don't look to the work as drudgery. You look at it as something looking forward to doing it. That's the difference in choosing a profession. So just look at the people who have chosen the IT or computer job just because it pays well. Drudgery. They come home tired, just go out to sleep, then again, like a machine, they keep on doing things. If they are interested, of course, it's different. They're inclined. But many are not interested. They think it's a drudgery. So Krishna here, thousands of years back, he said that, should I not ever engage myself in action, unvaried, men would follow my path, Arjuna. If you observe the kids, you can see what they really love. They'll never get tired. Plain. Like my grandson loves to assemble the Lego set. He came in a few minutes back because I got him a new Lego toy. And immediately he'll go and immerse himself in building it. The greatest risk here comes for people after retirement who do not know what to do. And that is a real problem. That's something which I cannot really help. This is something they have to think about. I hear a lot of wives complaining, I wish he was continuing at work. He's a nuisance at home. Many while away the time because they get a handsome pension. You know, India, it's a pension goes to 25,000, 30,000, 40,000, and don't feel like they're obliged to do anything. The retirement is when you stop living at work and begin working at living. You start working at living. So here, Krishna says, if it's not for your own sake, at least do it for others. So, here is the lesson that you need to really understand, that work with interest and do not do something just because you are forced to do it. Going further, verse number 24. Udsideyure ime loka. Utside yurime loka. Na kuryam karma chedaham. Sankarascha chakarta. Sankarascha chakarta sham. Upahanyam ima prajaha. There are a lot of sandhis coming in, so when you are reciting, make sure that you split the sandhis. Like the second line, Sankarasya chakarta sham upahanyam ima prajaha. Ussideyuhu ime. Ussideyuhu would perish. Ime is these. Aham, I. Karma na kuryam. Kuryam is verb here. Karma is a noun. Did not perform action. Chetaha, if. Lokaha, plural. The words aham, sankarasya. Confusion. Sankaram means, sankaram comes from that. Sankaram is a Tamil word. Sankarasya is confusion of caste. Cha and karta is author, creator. Sandhi here, sham upahanyam imaha would be prajaha, beings. These worlds would perish if I did not perform action. I should be the author of confusion, of caste, and destruction of these things. Now, this is simple, really. If a person does not perform the assigned work, there will be a backlash. The gears have to mesh. The teeth have to mesh. All the components of a machine should mesh. All the people in a community should work. Even if there is a rub, the whole system doesn't work well. I'm reminded of an old story, so I'll give you as an example. There was a king and he had a big Shiva temple. So he announced there is going to be a big Abhishekam for the Shiva on a particular day, and there will be a lot of milk required. So he told the people the previous night, I'm going to put a big vessel, a large one, and you all bring one glass of water, one glass of milk, and pour it inside. So the next day morning, they can use it for the Abhishekam. And everybody went. So one person thought, there's going to be so much of milk. What if I put one glass of water? Nobody will know it. So he poured a glass of water. The next day morning, when they saw the vessel, it contained only water and no milk, because everybody thought likewise. So what happens if there is a glass of water? And everybody thinks like that. Eventually, what you get is just plain water, no milk. So this is what happens, that every person counts, every step counts, every little step counts. So you see people poo-pooing the climate change now, but I feel the threat is real. My personal opinion. The consequences of abusing Mother Nature may not be felt immediately, but over time it will be felt. Ime lokaha utsideyuhu. It will perish if people do not take action now. If I do not do my duty. So if you see the way the elements came in, very interesting, how they are connected with our own Pancha Indriyangal. Akashat Vayuhu, from the sky, from the ether, came Vayuhu, air. Now, Akashat, what quality? It's only a medium for transmitting sound waves of sound. You don't see it, you just see it, it's wide open. But you see Vayuhu, from Akashat came Vayu or air. Vayu, you can feel it, the sense of feeling, whether it is cold air or hot air. You can also hear it when it's a very fast revolution, like a storm coming in. So sense of hearing as well as sense of touch. Sparsham. Agni comes later. Vayor Agnihi. Agni is fire, which has, you can see it, it has got a rupam also. You can feel it. You can also see it, it's got a rupam, the sense of seeing. Agniyor apaha, from fire came water. Water has got 4 qualities. You can see it, you can feel it, hot or cold. You can taste it also. It's got a taste. It's got, you can feel it, you can see it, you can taste it, and it's got a sound also when it is flowing like a river or it's falling like a waterfall. Apo Prithivihi, the earth, which has all the 5 qualities, including smell. When there is rain, some miles away, you can smell the earth coming in. So it's a progression of the 5 elements, and which integrated with your 5 senses. And if we don't respect that Mother Nature, eventually these worlds would perish. So these 5 elements, what you see, they have their own duties. Imagine if there is no air, there is no oxygen, they have to have that proportion. Agnihi, it has a role. You can't cook otherwise. Water, essential for life. So there is activity, action assigned to every one of the elements, just like human beings have a role to play. And if they do not there'll be author of confusion and destruction of these beings. People will perish if the Lord does not do his duty. So stressing the importance of work here. Going further, verse number 25, Saktaha karmanya vibdamso yata kurvanti bharata. Now the next line is a very long sandhi, but I would split it up for you. Kuryat vidvan tata asaktaha chikishuku lokasangraham. Once again, kuryat vidvan tata asaktaha chikushuhu lokasangraham. It's probably one of the longest lines that you have with a very long sandhi. Saktaha, here it is attachment, attached. Karmanya vidvamso, again a small sandhi. Karmani a vidvamsaha. Karmani is to action. Vidvan means an expert or knowledgeable person. A vidvamsaha, which means the ignorant. Yataha, as kurvanti is acting. Bharata is Arjuna being addressed that name. Kuryat vidvan tata eva asaktaha chikirshuhu loka sangraham. Kuryat should act vidvan, wise, tata eva, so unattached, wishing for the welfare of the world. The gist of these words is, as the ignorant man act from attachment to action, O Arjuna, O Bharata, so should the wise act without attachment, wishing the welfare of the world. So here, what is the difference between an ignorant man and a wise man, a jnani, ajnani and jnani, in performing action? This beautiful verse, actually, it's one plain and simple difference. Most people, what we call ajnani or ignorant, act or perform actions for the sake of getting happiness. I go to work because I have to earn money. With money, what do? I buy things because I want to get happiness through them. I want to buy a home, I want to buy a car, I want to buy clothes, I want to go to a movie. All these are for the purpose of getting happiness. What does the jnani do? He also wants to be happy, isn't it? But jnani, he also does action not to get happiness, but with happiness. With happiness to fulfill a purpose like loka sangraham, welfare of the world. That's what jnanis do. Do you think they are wanting to build a mansion for their own personal benefit? Or buy the latest Cadillac or luxurious car for their own benefit? You know, I am reminded of a small incident. Mahapariva in Kanchi, Sankaracharya, he used to sleep on a mat. And being bare-bodied, the mat used to, it has produced lines on his back. So one devotee, well-known, or Sundar Raman, who was in Washington, D.C., he saw it, he felt very sorry about it, that Mahapariva was sleeping on it and he has lions on his back. Why not buy a nice good bed for him? So he bought a bed with velvet and everything put on that, very soft one. And he took it all the way from Chennai to Kanchipuram to give it to Mahapariva. And said, Mahapariva, I saw this when you got up, there were lions on your back because you're sleeping on a mat. Why don't you sleep on this nice bed that I brought? It'll be comfortable for you. And he presented it to Mahapariva. Mahaprabhu looked at it. For 1 minute or so, he was silent. Then he said that man who was sitting there was a farmer who was sitting there. He has come to me because he's not getting sleep. You know why? He has borrowed money. He's not able to repay. And the lenders are troubling him, harassing him. So he says, at night, I don't get sleep at all. And he has come to get my blessings. So give this bed to him. He may get some sleep. For me, this mat is enough. I don't need my comfort. That is the sign of a true jnani. A person who is wishing the welfare of the world is happy. He is doing it with happiness, not to get happiness. With happiness, and he performs an action. There's a big difference. Most of us say that. So, but there are certain common things that are applicable not only to us, but to everybody, whether jnani or ajnani. Manusmriti tells you the samanya dharmas, as they call it, 5 of them, which is applicable to everyone, no exceptions. Ahimsa, satyam, asateyam, saucham, indriya nigraham. These are the 5 ones. First, of course, everybody know ahimsa, don't hurt people physically or mentally also. 2, satyam, be true to yourself. 3, asateyam, do not aspire for others' property, steal or be greedy. 4, saucham, cleanliness, personal cleanliness. Lastly, of course, control of the senses, indriya nigraham. So this is common for all, whether it is for ordinary people, ignorant people, or for the jnani. But here, Krishna is telling that there's a big difference. The ignorant man acts from attachment to action to fulfill or to get happiness, but they do it for getting happiness. The jnani does it with happiness for the welfare of the world. And you can see so many of these jnanis, they work for the welfare of the world. And you see the leaders also following that. So going further, verse number 26. Na buddhi betam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yuktaha samacharan. Na buddhi bedam. Easy for you to follow. Na means no again. Buddhi bedam is unsettlement, confused in the mind. Janayet ajnanam, should produce of the ignorant, karma sanginam, who are attached to action. Joshayet sarva karmani, should engage them in all action. Vidvan yuktaha, the wise engage. Sama acharan, samacharan, sama acharan. Let no wise man unsettle the minds of ignorant people who are attached to action. He should engage them in all action, himself fulfilling them with devotion. Very beautifully said. Lord Krishna here, as I mentioned in the overview, says what the wise man should do and what he should not do. Karma sanginam is referred to the people who are attached to the worldly activities and their results, materialistic, the most common variety you find amongst people. So what should the wise man do? Tell them you become jnani, take sannyasa, go to forest and do this. Krishna wants. No, it's a warning. Do not do that. The wise man should not do that. Do not ask them to give up all those activities or detract them or confuse them with upadesham to become a jnani. Who wants it anyway? I met some people and when I told them that there is SanGita Session, yes, who wants it, sir? Nowadays it is all not required at all. We go to temple sometime, that is more than enough. We will think about it after we become 70 years. Why should we go through all this trouble? Who wants philosophy? It's given only to those who are in an acceptable state of mind. Even there are few of them. Those who are really seriously interested. It's not for everybody. So Krishna is giving a warning here. Don't keep preaching to everybody. Because most people are karma sanginam buddhi bedam na janayet, who are attached to worldly activities and don't generate confusion in their minds, unsettle their minds. I think here is where our Sanatana Dharma shines, the Vedas shine. They provide the path, Dharmartha Kama Moksham, the 4 steps. It doesn't say that you should not pursue Artham. No harm in pursuing legitimate pleasures. For every age, there is a prescribed path. To produce joy in a child, you must give a toy or a candy or something like that. If somebody has illness, you should treat him with proper medicine, not the same medicine for all people having same indications. The doctor knows. Different medicines are given to different people. Homeopathy, in fact, goes a step further. When you treat 2 people of identical indications, the medicines are different because it takes into account the mental condition of the patient also. For example, one might think that he doesn't want to live. The other person wants to live. So there is a difference. The doctor is able to find it out, question them, so that he diagnoses and prescribes the right medicines. I know this because my grandfather was a doctor, an allopathic doctor, who eventually started practicing homeopathy, and he cured many of those people who were given up by allopathy doctors, like Dr. Rangachari. So you have to really know what really works in the mind of people and allow them to pursue their own interest. Don't force it on them. But at the same time, does it mean you should give up, not teach Gita or not teach anything? No. Vidvan yuktaha samacharan. Allow them to pursue their interests. At the same time, engage them, and persuade them by performing with involvement activities that appeal to them. Like you go to many places, they perform pujas. So people are interested, they want to watch it. You go to assembly of many places where there is some bhajan being sung. You go there not because you know anything, but you listen to them because there is a musical content. You get interested. So in these, you explain a couple of sentences, then they get interested why you are doing it. In some of the Sampradaya bhajan, I used to give a short 1 or 2 minutes of explanation, and people liked it because they were not knowing why we do it. If you say Maha Sankalpam, Mamopata Samasta Durit Chaitvara Sri Parameshwara Prityartham, people ask why you are doing this. There must be a reason. You have to explain to them. Only then they get a little interested in that. So engage them by all means in all actions, but do not just stop them. Allow them to do what they are really serious to you. Allow them to watch the football game. Allow them to play something. At the same time, gradually engage them in actions. Beautiful advice by Lord Krishna here, which I think everyone should follow. Going further, the next verse, number 27. Prakritehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma katta hamiti manyate. Katta aham iti manyate. Prakrite refers to nature. Prakriti. Kriyamanani, done. Perform. Gunaihi, by the qualities. karmani, action, sarvasaha, in all cases, ahankara vimudatma, one whose mind is deluded by egoism. Mudan means fool. Vimuda means absolute fool. Absolute fool, fool of a high order, or you can say filtered idiot. Aham, I, karta, the doer, iti, thus manyate, thinks. Actions are performed in all cases by the qualities of nature only. He whose mind is deluded by egoism thinks, I am the doer. How often we hear this term, I did it. I am great. I am smart. It was I who achieved this. In every case, I. Reflecting an exaggerated sense of self-importance, an excessive preoccupation with oneself. So in this verse, the talk is about the ignorant or ajnani who thinks he is the one who's doing everything. Ahankara vimudatma. Ahankara, of course, got varied meanings. In this case, he's talking about an ego case. Ahankaram. So, vimudatma is a filtered idiot, as I mentioned. The I is of two kinds. One that refers to the ego that have. The other one is the mind itself, or the mind in the physical self you have. The other refers to the higher plane, which is of Atma or soul. So both refers to Ahankara. But when you say Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, you refer to the soul. That I is referring to the higher plane. I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. This verse is talking about the lower level of Ahankara, which is ego, where the ignorant man thinks that he is doing everything, while he is really being driven by the three gunas of Prakriti, which I mentioned earlier, Rajas, Sattva, and Tamas, all the three. So the body-mind complex is what is called, typically called Ahankara. And that refers to the proud, the arrogant, people who think very high of themselves. So Ahamkara is anityaha, not permanent. Today you are in a powerful position, you can do that. But tomorrow you retire and you are nobody, it vanishes. Atma is nityaha, eternal, immortal. So everybody is a mixture of Ahankara and Atma. The Ahankara, as we call ego, is referred here the lower self, and Atma is the higher self. So Krishna said, you think that you are doing, but actually these actions are all performed by the qualities of nature, Prakriti, the three gunas I mentioned, which exist in different proportions, and according to that, the actions are performed. So one who thinks that, well, I did it, is deluded by ego. So this is the advice given by Lord Krishna to people that do not think that you are really doing everything. There is a higher force. There is a higher force of Prakriti, and those qualities which emanate from nature, they determine what you do. It's not true that the person who has a sattvic quality, for example, a saint, his way of doing things are different from a person who may be a politician or maybe Yeah, a leader who has a lot of enormous powers, political powers, the way he does things is totally different. His outlook is also different. So you find the actions that are determined in both cases by the basic qualities in them, which is determined in born by the proportion of the three different qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So that's what usually happens. Some children are aggressive, you find. Some children are very docile. Now, you don't inject those qualities in them, but they are certain inborn traits given by Prakriti. So with this verse, we will stop today, verse number 27, which will continue. This is an important, these 27 and 28 are important verses. So we will continue next week, next Saturday, which is going to be 27th morning, same time, and we'll continue with this. And I expect that we should be able to complete the third chapter by the end of this month, hopefully. There are 43 verses, or maybe extending the first week of June. So wish you all a great weekend. With that, I conclude. I will unmute you all, and in case you have any questions, you can ask right now. Hello.